This presentation explores men's fashions in the 1920s. Men's fashion combined the classic sophistication of tailoring with a growing movement for fun and casual attire. Men's suits remain essentially the same from the 19 teens. But as with women's fashions, we will see a generation gap form primarily due to the fact that more men are able to attend college and the economic boom. This extends years of carefree living that promoted a youthful lifestyle and point of view. Traditional and older men will retain the tailored suit, and indeed the three-piece match suit is the most essential part of every man's wardrobe. Men wore the suit for everyday work and parties. Wealthy men owned different styles and colors, and there remain extensive rules about proper dress for different occasions. Working men often owned one suit for all occasions. Jackets were cut to completely cover the derriere in back. We often find clues to the jacket length in menswear ads when we look closely. This man on the right shows a folded hand next to the hem of his suit coat, showing us the length is about even with his top knuckle. Suits are available in seasonal fabrics for those who can afford more than one. Winter wools are woven with more thickness, and those who look at extant vintage men's suits from this era are often surprised at how heavy the fabrics were. Fashionable patterns woven into the wool include a new preference for heathered or indistinct flecks and stripes and tweeds. Large fuzzy stripes like this in menswear are called chalk stripes. Florida is a new vacation destination, creating more need for tropical wool and linen suits for the wealthy who visit there. These wools are smooth and lightweight, with fewer patterns and tweeds and stripes. Notice the patch pockets evident on all the suits at the right, identifying these as sporting or casual suits, not business suits. Notice the lapels during this period are a moderate width. The style setter for traditional dressing was the Prince of Wales, who would become King Edward of England. He, of course, patronized Savile Row tailors and was a glamorous personality, quite rare in a British royalty that prided itself on being stodgy. He was the first royal to become a qualified pilot. He was an avid golfer, and he visited the United States on 2 trips, one in 1924 and 1927, endearing himself to the American public. He even adopted the American habit of wearing a belt in his trousers instead of the British preference for suspenders. The press covered his wardrobe from top to bottom. As an avid sportsman, he started a fashion for tabbed shirt collars, seen on the right. 2 tabs attached to each side of the collar kept the points in place underneath the tie. Men's shirts settle into the elements we recognize today. Starched collars will remain for very conservative or old-fashioned men, but by and large the everyday collar was now a leisure collar, attached to the shirt and folded down. During World War I, military shirts had these soft collars attached to the shirt to ease laundering and dressing. After that, young men rebel against the hard, separate collar and don't return to it. Americans adopt it quickly because of our familiarity with sports shirts and our preference for comfort. British men are more conservative, keeping the starched collar longer. They blame the Americans for slipping menswear standards. In the early 1920s, the 2 most common styles were a pointed collar seen on the left and a rounded collar on the right called a club collar. The club collar is considered the more casual. A new variation of the point collar becomes fashionable, the spread collar with the points aiming toward the shoulders to accommodate a very wide tie knot. When collars were separate, a wider spread like this had been available. Now it is an option to buy attached to the shirt. In 1925, shirt makers introduced the button placket that we use today. While shirts had a button on the cuff for a long time, the device of sewing in an extra strip of fabric on the cuff and into the sleeve is new. The placket encourages the cuff to lay properly and be ironed more efficiently. Notice the man's shirt on the right in an advertisement. It does not yet have a chest pocket, as shirts do today. Ties remain short, ending several inches above the trouser waist. Colorful patterns emerge in keeping with Art Deco style, and we see wide stripes available. Men's ties are available in knitted varieties as well as traditional silk. Vest bottoms remain pointed, but by the later 20s, the points are no longer as extreme as they were at the beginning. The man on the left does not button his bottom vest button, an English tradition of contested origin. That tradition will migrate over to the US, but we still see many men not heeding that trend, as you can see on the right. Young men adopt a more youthful and slim-fitting suit style, as they had in the 19-teens. Two-piece suits were also considered more youthful, and they were discreetly advertised without a matching vest. You can see on the left the center figure puts his hand in his trouser pocket to show us his shirt, meaning there's no vest with this suit. The trousers are more slender with cuffs sewn in. A more extreme style called a jazz suit, seen on the right, originates in the music clubs. They feature a very pegged trouser shape with skinny ankles and very short trouser length with a cuff. Some were made in short jacket lengths as well, called bum freezers. We see single or double-breasted styles, and some suits feature slanted pockets, nipped waist seams, or long angular darts to create a more hourglass shape. Movie star Rudolph Valentino was known for his progressive style, and here he wears a jazz suit with individual styling. It has a very short jacket length, or the bum freezer style. The jacket is single-breasted with a single button closure. The shorter trousers are quite small at the ankle and contain a cuff, and he shows off his striped socks. We have a new version of knickers, now called +4s. The name comes from measuring the inseam to the knee and adding 4 inches. When the knee band is added and the legs are pushed up, the +4s drape down over the leg. Sportsmen wore these for hunting and golf. The pace-setting young generation rejects traditional tailoring, adopting a wider array of garments. In the photo to the left, we see 3 different ways of dressing. On the far left, we see a tailored suit with those +4s, then a 2-piece suit consisting of an unmatched sport coat and trousers. The figure in the center wears no jacket, wearing a sweater and +4s instead. With the legs showing, young men adopted brightly colored and patterned knee socks that complemented their sweater. Using sweaters introduces more color and patterns in general into men's wardrobes. The term for this kind of casual dressing is soft dressing. Men continue to wear a collar shirt and tie or bow tie underneath the sweater. We also see an array of shoes, from walking shoes to two-tone Oxfords. We see that some men wore their sweaters tucked into the +4s and others wore the sweaters outside. The creative classes particularly adopt soft dressing, as this photo of Walt Disney and his early studio employees show. This is the beginning of identifying California as a home for more relaxed and casual rules. 2 of the men appear in shirt sleeves only, undoubtedly very casual for this time. All of the men wear belts in the American fashion. Fred Astaire was a style icon for his spot-on blend of casual style and classical tailoring. He appreciated fine menswear, and he had his suits tailored on Savile Row. His casual wardrobe, featured in interviews and press releases, showed the epitome of California casual soft dressing. The new trend for sweaters introduces traditional patterns such as Faire aisle patterns and stripes derived from sports. Thick sweaters replace some kinds of jackets, reverting back to their origins with working men and sailors who needed warmth and movement. I particularly enjoy the color blocking on these sweaters, an interesting application of Art Deco styling. Formal wear remains the same as the 19-teens, with the tailcoat for evening wear and the tuxedo or dinner suit for semi-formal occasions. Notice how the points of the formal vest fall below the points created by the front of the tailcoat. The separate starched collar remains for formal shirts. Plaids that originated in England have migrated to the US, where they will be widely adopted as casual and sturdy fabric for farm work and outdoor sports such as hunting. Plaid now joins the lexicon of what we consider all-American dressing. There are two signature hats for the 1920s. The first is the fedora, a felt hat with dented crown and soft brim that can fold up or down. In the 1920s, the crown is as wide as a man's face. The brim widens from its earlier versions, tilting rakishly down over the eyes. The hatband is wide, about 2 to 2.5 inches in this era. The second signature hat is the straw boater, remaining from the end of the Victorian era. The crown stands a little taller than in the 19-teens. This is a summer hat worn for all manner of occasions. The top hat retains its place as the most formal hat worn on ceremonial occasions with the morning suit or tailcoat. The Homburg remains from the Victorian era. It is considered a formal day hat worn by ministers and others who wish to retain a sense of authority or dignity. Men's underwear is still available as one piece or two. There is a new option for the two-piece, which is wearing a sleeveless knit undershirt that we recognize today. The new two-piece underwear evolved from the knit attire worn by boxers in the early part of the 1900s. The advertisement in the center is selling an athletic ensemble of shirt and shorts, which we today call boxers. Men cut their hair with volume on the top that is parted on the side or in the center. The most fashionable style is flat hair with a high shine seen in the movies. Several new products called Brilliantine and Brill Cream promise to control and add shine. Black men also develop a signature style called the conch, after Congoline gel that straightened the hair. This formula contained lye and could be painful, burning the scalp. Every black barbershop had one operator who specialized in this style. It was particularly fashionable for black musicians and entertainers, and thousands of men wanted to look just like them. We will conclude our look at men's fashions with a tribute to Alan L. Hart, born Alberta Lucille Hart, an American doctor and researcher. He was one of the first trans men to undergo hysterectomy in the U.S. He pioneered the use of X-ray photography and tuberculosis screening. Facing probable discrimination, he kept his pre-transition identity a secret, and so while much is known about him, we don't fully understand how or if he may have fit into the growing awareness of transgender identities. Nonetheless, we take an important step toward a time when we might explore gender identities more rationally. The 1920s brought a generation gap for men's dressing, with older and conservative men retaining the three-piece suit. Progressive young men could wear a youthful suit style called a jazz suit, and young men rebelled against the constraints of traditional menswear with soft dressing, a collection of sports jackets, plus fours, and sweaters.